Hi, I'm Jim Hilgendorf. My wife Elizabeth and I are continuing our journey of traveling together to a new America. Elizabeth passed away about a year and a half ago, but we're moving together still, heart to heart, in life, in death, reaching out to people all across this country. Today I'd just like to bring up one of the great women of our country's history. Her name, you may never have heard of her, it was Mary Harris Jones. She later became known as Mother Jones and was known throughout the United States and the world. She was born in 1837 in Ireland. And about the time she was 10, she and her family had to emigrate to North America, to Canada, and leave Ireland because of the Great Potato Famine, which caused about 1 million families to flee the country because of poverty and starvation. When she became a teacher, and she moved to Memphis, Tennessee, married George Jones, who was an iron worker. And they had 4 children, and when her children were all age under 5, her husband and her 4 children were swept away by the yellow fever epidemic. She then moved to Chicago and began a dressmaking business of her own. Several years later, in 1867, she lost all of her things, all of her business, everything she possessed in the Great Chicago Fire. After that, she began labor organizing, a lot of it with the United Mine Workers, and traveling the country, and spent years, many years. She lived until the age of 93, up until 1930. So during all these years, she was not so well known, but she was extremely effective in organizing labor and community action, and working again for better conditions for children and workers and better wages. This was a time of enormous disparity in workers' wages, and the founders of the great empires of that time who had enormous wealth and did everything in their power to keep the workers in line and pay them as little as they could and take the money for themselves. When she was about 60, she kind of assumed a new persona, this persona of Mother Jones. And she became known throughout the United States. And she eventually helped even found the International Workers of America. She worked tirelessly for people. And one time she was denounced on the floor of the United States Senate as the grandmother of all agitators. And her reply was, "Oh, I hope to become the great-grandmother of all agitators." At the heart of everything she did, she knew suffering, she knew tragedy, she knew the people and what they struggled for, because she experienced it all herself. And throughout her life, her main task was to encourage people, to empower people with their sense of their own power, not only individually, but united together. They could accomplish anything. They could change their situation. It's interesting. We're kind of in a similar case today. Mother Jones would be really working today. We have an enormous disparity in wealth in our country. Billionaires and billionaires, and then people struggling to survive. No health care, low wages, and a Congress that seems unable to really work for people. She was a great lady. She was only one person, but her message is that all of you, every single person, possesses power. You possess power, and you can do something. You have to do something. So this is, a great lady. And just finally, I'd just like to say to everyone, if you'd like to know more about our journey, Elizabeth and I, you can read our book, Traveling Together to a New America. And want to say finally, just keep faith with yourself. Keep faith with your greatest dreams for yourself and for our country and for the world. Nam Yo Renge Kyo.